Hi, friends. I'm Zach.
Mitch.
And we are an excellent little podcast.
We are here presenting you a little movie podcast starring Zach and Mitch.
Wait, are we doing a podcast?
We are doing a podcast, or at least that's what she said.
Oh. Ooh. Maybe not the best joke to run with on this one, but but genuinely, this is gonna be another one of our serious ones. It's gonna be a
this one's a doozy.
It's a little bit of a doozy, but I think we're all gonna kind of enjoy talking about this one.
Because it's definitely a film that needs to be talked about.
Exactly. So this is She Said from Universal Pictures. Mm-hmm. The director is Marita Schroeder, and the screenplay by Rebecca Linkowitz.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about these two, but I will say this was an impossible task, and they both delivered phenomenal.
Oh yeah, the pacing of this movie is spot on, man. There's never a dull moment on this. They do a great job of going back and forth, trying to show quote unquote work-life balance, and that failing and happening at the same time. Like, there is so much going on in this movie that's just like a dial keeps on turning, and it never stops, man. The script is so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, he's not kidding, y'all. But brief summary, New York Times reporters Megan Twohey and Jodie Cantor, thank you, break one of the most important stories in a generation. A story that helped ignite a movement and shattered decades of silence around the subject of sexual assault in Hollywood. Thank you, IMDb.
Yeah.
For those of you that need to maybe leave the room, or
again, this one's going to be a hard one to talk about, but it's one that it's a movie that's been on our radar that we wanted to see. So, and it's actually very important to the film industry because it actually happened to the film industry and is a big reason why actually a very big movement actually started. Mitch, do you want to go ahead and talk about how we split up our episodes for me?
Yeah, sure. So we just had the introduction. We are now entering our non-spoiler section where Zach will give his thoughts, I will give mine. We will talk about cast performances and non-spoilerly things. Then we will talk about our review. Zach will give his review, I will give mine, and then after that, one of us will sound a nice calming alarm after, and then we will talk about some spoilerly things, and then we will go on our merry way. You will hopefully like this video, comment on it, and do other things, but we're not at that point yet. All right, so we've entered our non-spoiler things. Zach, can you give a brief first thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. This was 2016.
It was 2016 that led into 2017.
So that was my junior year of college. I remember seeing all this go down. I remember the election that year. I remember Bill O'Reilly's whole scandal, and then this scandal happened. This is something I remember even reading this article. So it was very interesting to actually see a movie play it out, and see kind of some of the work that went into getting all this investigating and reporting, all that had to be done to get this all out. A very interesting story. I know that it's probably was elevated a little bit because it's Hollywood, but really well done. I genuinely can't sing enough praises about this. This was incredibly well done.
So I didn't read the article, but I did hear about Harvey Weinstein's endeavors, and I couldn't remember who Harvey Weinstein was because I had heard the name.
Sure.
And I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And I remember a few years before he was at the Academy Awards like he normally is.
Yep.
And who was it that made the joke? I think it was Ellen DeGeneres was like, she was given pizza, and she's like, well, we need money to pay the pizza guy. Harvey Weinstein, where are you? Harvey. And there's the camera, Harvey Weinstein. I'm like, that man looks disgusting. Yeah. And lo and behold, this stuff comes out, and it was kind of sad because I lived in an area where the movement that followed, the Me Too movement after this, a lot of people were like, oh, the girls deserved it and everything. And I'm just like, no, that's not okay.
Nope.
And Harvey Weinstein deserves everything that's coming to him. And I'm glad this film was made and brought more stuff to light, because Harvey's going to rot in jail.
Oh, yeah.
And this film was delivered so solidly.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of pressure with everybody, starting with the cast.
Yeah. So we got to talk about the two reporters that basically made this possible. They are played by Carey Mulligan, who plays Megan Twohey, and Zoe Kazan as Jodie Cantor. Both performances absolutely solid.
Yeah.
They play off of each other really, really well. It really isn't a Megan story or a Jodie story. It's both of them. They're both the protagonists in this film completely. They do an exceptionally wonderful job of balancing it, and I was invested in both of them. I thought both performances were excellently well given. The moments to moments were great. The pairings were great. I was locked in on both of these women each time that they were on screen. It was phenomenal. It was electric.
Yeah, I think that's good. That's why we decided to pair them up when we were talking about the cast, because this film, it's about both of them and how they both reacted to these allegations, to the women accusing Weinstein of all this stuff, and just the sheer weight of it all, because it was affecting them personally and psychologically. Because I know Jodie Cantor, my contact's bugging out. Sorry.
No, you're good.
She's a mother of two little girls.
Yep.
And Carey Mulligan's character, she's a mother of a newborn baby of a little girl. I think they're both thinking from a mother's perspective, like, what if that was my little girl?
Yeah.
And so they brought that in. They brought in, like, what happens if that was me, or what happens if that was some of my coworkers, or what if we were involved in that? And it just, you kind of feel sick to your stomach with their performances, because there's such emotional weight, emotional just anger to it, and you're angry for them.
Yeah. And also, like, another dimension that they kind of add to it, Megan is a tried and true reporter. She's been with the New York Times for a while. She actually did the Trump scandal report from the New York Times when with Miss America and whatnot during his first election. That report actually came from her, and they actually kind of go into that a little bit of, like, the attacks and whatnot that she was going through that, which was disgusting. And so for her to take this on as her next story had to have been very intimidating, because that's a second person in high power that she's going after. And then contrast to Jodie, who isn't brand spanking new, but still very new, hasn't had a whole bunch of stories underneath her time.
She's a little green.
Yeah,
is basically what I
exactly.
Like to call it. Yeah. But then Patricia Clarkson as Rebecca Corbett. Solid
performance. There's a nice chunk of ensemble cast members, and it was kind of hard to pick who our third person would be for this one, but I feel like her support, especially as a woman in power in the Times, was very, very helpful and helped progress the story along. And she was like, we need to pounce on this now with the Bill O'Reilly stuff going down. We need to pounce on another person right now. Otherwise, we're not going to get a movement started on this. So I thought that was a really great kind of, like, way to like be an inciting incident to kind of go into it and have her be the one that's like pushing them to keep on going farther and faster. So I thought her performance on that and her ability to push not only the characters but the actors as well was phenomenal.
Yeah. All right. So we have the cast. We got some non-spoilerly things, and then we will review this piece. The first bit was the tension of it, and Zach, you hit it on the head. Because the film starts with Donald Trump's election.
Yeah.
And immediately you feel it in your throat.
Yeah.
You feel it in your chest. There was a point like I wanted to vomit at the beginning of the film. And I'm like, you start this film with that?
Yeah.
And we don't even start talking about Harvey for another, I'm going to say, 10 to 15 minutes?
Yeah.
And then it gets even worse.
Yeah.
And then some more characters come in. You see a few actresses come in. And there's some cameos in there that were just, I applaud them.
Oh, yeah.
That's
100%.
a lot of pressure. Because you can tell with the way that they made the film, they wanted tension, not just like on screen, but they wanted tension on the set in a positive way. If you catch my drift, Zach.
Yeah,
but
100%.
what would you say about the tension?
Again, it's as if like they started at they start off with a bang and like turned up the dial, and then they just kept on turning it and kept turning it and kept turning it, and it just kept on going and going and going and going and going until you finally get the release of the article actually going published. Like it just doesn't stop.
No.
It just keeps going. Really phenomenal storytelling and really phenomenal ways of building all that tension in. Was really well done.
Well, and it also segues into the emotional part of it. And going back to my topic when we were talking about the cast, there's just this emotional like toll that it takes on you. Like when the article came out, like I said, I never read it, but I know the gist of it, and the emotionality of every single thing. And there's some recordings in the film that really hits you.
Oh yeah.
And I looked in the audience and after the film, and there were just women were bawling their eyes out. And I'm just like, man, like this film is an emotional like train wreck.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they wanted to do with this film.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. How were you feeling emotionally after the film?
Oh, I was going left, right, and center on it.
I was too.
It was if like it's as if like you are in the driver's seat, but the passenger is just kind of like grabbing onto the wheel and trying to turn it in multiple ways, and you're trying to hold on and stay like on the way, but all of a sudden like a deer comes by and the passenger tries to rips it around for you. Like it goes left, right, and center, but it's jarring, but it's not jarring in a bad way.
Yeah.
Like it always takes a turn, but always in an emotional and in story-based way.
Yeah.
That it completely earns every single emotional beat that it hits. I will get into the spoilers of the moment that really made me actually cry. Later, but it will go ahead and segue into kind of with the amount of emotion that you are put through and you feel, you kind of get a little bit of the exhaustion that these reporters are kind of going through because of all the hits that keep on coming.
Well, and they weren't sleeping at all. I know Carey Mulligan's character Megan Twohey, she was going with postpartum depression after just having her little girl.
Yep.
Jodie Cantor was like flying from like London to San Francisco, taking trains from London to Wales to meet some other clients that Harvey had. And
she was away from her family,
yeah,
which was
her two little girls. And just, you can just, and there were sometimes like their bosses, they were like, go home, sleep.
Yeah.
I will, because a few of their bosses like, I will proofread this.
Yeah.
I will see if anything comes up. Just text them my number and they can get in touch with me.
Yeah.
And they're
Well,
the exhaustion of it.
I also loved
I know who you're
I'm
talking
blanking
about,
on the
yeah.
character, but I remember his first name, Andre. It's the police chief from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh yeah, Andre Bolliger.
Yeah, I think so.
He was the head of the New York Times.
His role is very small in this film, but his presence is really great because he's dealt with Harvey Weinstein before.
Yeah.
So he's like, if Harvey's ever talking to us, I will be in the room with him because I've dealt with him before. Let me handle him.
Well, and
like,
he handles him
so
superbly.
good.
Like
So good.
anytime Harvey, because you do hear Harvey speak, and you don't. You see a stand-in.
Yeah, you see a stand-in.
And you see Andre like talking to the phone, and he's like, Harvey, you have this amount. No, Harvey, you have this amount of time. You're getting back to us, or we are posting the story. And hangs up the phone, and I'm like, bravo, dude.
Yeah, no, it's just the exhausting factor just keeps on going. Like even in times of like the reporters talking to Harvey and they just are so pissed off with what he's saying that they like just scream at the phone. It's really interesting. And then they have the director had, at first I was not a fan of like the director's editing, but then I realized what she was doing with it. There was a lot of stark cuts from dark to light or very quick cuts from dark to light, and it's meant to get you as an audience member tired out.
Yeah,
that's the point of it. So doing these multiple jump cuts was meant to kind of tire you out as an audience so that you could kind of feel almost as tired as the reporters. So it was really, really interesting to also kind of feel that exhaustion as well from the director, which I also want to give a tip of the hat to.
Yeah. All right. So that is our non-spoilerly things. It's time to hear our review.
Yes.
Zach, would you mind discussing how we split it up?
Absolutely. So we have 3 different categories here on Little Movie Podcast. We have Eat It Up, which means that we thought that this movie is great. It's wonderful. You should totally go see it, whether in theaters, which is what we recommend, or streaming if you don't have the time to get out to it while it's in theaters. Then we have Cook a Little More, which is we feel that the film needs maybe a director change, a cast change, script change, something. It just needs a little seasoning, a little something different just to get it up there. And then we have Feed It to the Dog, which we didn't enjoy it, but we think you should see it to form your own opinion, but we personally didn't care for it. So with all that being said, Mitch, what did you think of She Said?
I feel like Eat It Up is not good enough. I'm going to bring out our Phantom category.
Ooh.
And I'm going to say this is a clean plate for me. Now, I do still recognize its flaws.
Sure.
As, you know, the film critic in me, I am able to see the flaws. Pacing was a little iffy. I did notice some of the editing toils that the director was bringing out, but I just feel that if I don't make a clean plate, it would because the filmmakers did what they needed to do. They told a very near impossible story in a very bad environment nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, we are changing. Keep up the change, y'all.
Exactly.
And they succeeded in that.
Sure.
So I just feel like if I don't give it a clean plate, it would be not disrespect, but the film deserves this clean plate, in my opinion.
Sure.
What would you say?
So it really is a genuinely great film. But I'm very, very torn on it.
Flip a coin.
It's but I think my gut is saying that it is a clean plate too.
Yeah.
It's an important story. It's really well told. I think that this one is genuinely a tried and true clean plate. And that's another one too. Like, I feel like as great as Wakanda Forever is, I feel like I want to walk back that clean plate a little bit to have it just be a Eat It Up.
Yeah,
because seeing this movie makes me go, okay, this is what a clean plate really is. You know?
Yeah. I may have to agree with you, but see, here's the thing about you and me when it comes to our reviews.
Yeah.
Our reviews aren't set in stone.
Exactly. They always change.
We do like to change our minds. So I'm going to have to pull back on Wakanda Forever because, yes, this is what this until and the other film that we were going to talk about with Tar.
Yeah.
This is Oscar worthy, y'all.
Yeah.
this is what we want to see. And Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is also
is a
Oscar-worthy.
phenomenal movie.
Yeah.
But if you compare it to something like this, while great and emotional as it is, it does not stack up to this.
But again, our reviews could change literally. Who knows? In 30 minutes, we may both look at each other and be like, maybe it was
a clean. Yeah, who knows? But
hell, there are times I think Morbius needs to cook a little more. I don't know. I need to be bopped over the head.
I was about
for
to
it.
say that's probably when you were sick. The second you got better, you were like, nah, never mind. It's still a garbage movie.
Or when some people think, or when I randomly thought that. Not Morbius. Black Adam was a good movie. I'm like, what? No.
Well, and that's the great thing about our review, about our review categories, is that they are gray. They are gray areas.
Yeah.
It's not a number. It's a very gray area, and it moves. So yeah. Thank you so much, my friends, for listening to us and watching us. Please give us a like and a subscribe. And also, please go ahead if you have any questions, comments, or want to collaborate with us. Please email us at elpodcastmz@gmail.com. That way we can contact you. But yeah, it is time.
I feel like the alarm is a little too much for this film.
It's just a little click.
Yeah.
Click. We are now officially into our spoiler section.
Yeah, it's a click, and we're in the spoiler section because you don't need an alarm for this.
Nah.
So the first spoiler is they do meet with Harvey.
Yeah.
Which that's not necessarily a spoiler because we do know that they met with Harvey.
Well, and that's the whole thing too. The hard thing with like spoiler and non-spoiler with this movie specifically is that this literally goes through a timeline of something that happened a couple of years ago, so we know what transpired. So it is a spoiler, but it isn't a spoiler. Like it kind of goes back and forth.
Yeah, they do meet with Harvey.
They do,
and
multiple times.
Yeah,
over the phone, and then finally they meet him in person to get his statement on the entire situation.
And you just feel the ego, and I can't help but think, Harvey had a lot of power.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And so did a certain company he worked for,
Miramax,
that was owned by another company.
Yeah.
We don't speak for the brand of the company.
We do not speak for that brand or the company.
Our thoughts and opinions are our own.
Yes.
Are you sensing disappointment, Zach?
A bit, yeah. But again,
that was a different time.
It was a different time, but it also another thing that. Now, I'm not trying to defend our parent. We're not owned by Disney, but I'm not trying to defend Disney in this, but at the same time,
neither is Universal.
Neither is Universal. But from what I understand, a lot, and what this movie kind of goes through is just how many. It was known that Harvey did this, but no one knew to the extent that it was, and I feel like that's why the Weinstein Company and Miramax were as secretive as they were,
and they parted
to like cover just how bad it was up. Which that's where we need great investigative reporters like Jody and like Megan to actually go into these kind of things and do the dirty work, get into the dirty details in order to kind of make these stories come to light. And it comes with the bravery of the people they go to, the sources. So when you meet with Harvey, it's a culmination of everything that they've done.
Well, he kept asking if they had spoken to Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah.
Which they did. And she decided to not be a named source.
Not be on the record, yeah.
And I remember she used to date Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
I remember. And they touched up on him a little bit, but not as much as they probably should have, because Ben Affleck had like some email involved too.
Yeah.
But it kind of segues your point, the sources. segues into our next topic was Ashley Judd being one of the other sources. And who's the other one?
Laura
Zach?
McConnelly.
Thank you. They both agreed to be named sources in this New York Times piece.
Which, might we say,
that's powerful.
Huge step and huge, amazing task and very terrifying thing to agree to as a victim of Harvey Weinstein, to agree to be a named source. So kudos to those two women stepping up and saying, yes, you can name me as a source, because they go into a little bit just like what that could mean. It means that Harvey can potentially sue them for defamation, which the New York Times will not help them with whatsoever. So they are on their own if Harvey comes to attack them. So it's a big thing for them to do, and this movie does a phenomenal job of showcasing the power that women can have when working together to fight off an attacker.
Yeah,
and it's great. And when both calls happen, I cried both times. I was a blubbering mess, especially on Laura's, because Ashley's was the first one to say, like, yes, I will do it. But Laura's was the one that really got me, because Ashley Judd is known. She's in the public eye. She has been. Harvey's finagling, unfortunately, has shrunk her career sizably because of what she refused to do. But Laura's, I felt like Laura's stakes were even higher. So when she called and said, yes, you can use my name in your story, I that's when the waterworks really happened for me. I was, that was a big moment.
Yeah. So that's our review, friends.
Yeah.
I hope you were able to get through it, and I'm glad we were able to bring our review to you guys. Once again, please like, subscribe, and if keep up the change. Get help if you need to.
Yep.
We're available. If you need to email us at elpodcastmz@gmail.com.
Whether it's about the podcast or just want to check in and say, like, hey, like, thank you for like, if you need to, like, talk about anything, that email is open for anything, really. So
yeah. But until the next time,
I'm Zach.
I'm Mitch.
And we are an excellent little podcast.